Well, the profession of sales is one that doesn't appear to have much of a positive reputation. And to other professions who may not consider themselves sales, to suggest to them that they need to sell or be salespeople can often be met with stonewall resistance, but it doesn't necessarily need to be that way. So joining us today is Australia's foremost expert in the ethics of selling, Dave Penglase. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be here.
I struggled to get that out, and hopefully that doesn't mean I've got trouble with my ethics, but perhaps tell us a little bit now why do salespeople have such a bit of or not so much of a positive reputation?
You know, you're really right that consumers look at sales and it's almost like there's this negative stereotype about what is a salesperson going to do to me when I actually buy. The problem is that a lot of salespeople actually buy into that as well, that they don't want to seem like that negative stereotype of a salesperson. So the process really starts with what do they think about their role as salespeople, and whatever they've come up with in terms of their own mental image of what a salesperson is, clients actually get that. So when people go to buy, they get this feeling whether the salesperson is someone they can trust, whether it's someone they want to do business with, and that's where it really all starts. So this concept of ethics in selling, it's not an oxymoron and you shouldn't have slipped over it, but the reality is salespeople need to work out what is it that would cause their potential clients to be concerned about their buying experience.
So is there an ethical sales process that people can sort of follow that once they've got that mindset?
Yeah, great question. Ethics in selling is more about my attitude as a salesperson as to what I'm trying to achieve with my clients. See, clients have three fears, three exit points along this buying concept that they actually have. The first buyer, I call them exit ramps, you know, because and sometimes they're physical and sometimes they're actually quite emotional. But the exit ramps look like this. The first one's called the initial contact fear. And you guys have probably felt this as well. You know, you go and buy something important, not milk and bread and that kind of stuff, but something important, and you go, inside your head you hear this little voice. And Matt, we know each other, and I know there's other voices inside your head as well. But the reality is all of us have this little voice inside our head. And so this initial contact fear in the client's mind when they're about to buy something of importance goes something like this. What's this experience going to be like? And so salespeople have to work out right up front, what am I going to do to connect emotionally and intellectually with a client? A quick example, I walked onto this multi-car dealership some years ago and there was no one else around. I don't know why, but there wasn't. And I'd been there for about 5, maybe 10 minutes. And all of a sudden this salesperson appears. I don't know where he came from. He says, "G'day, how you going?" I said, "I'm all right. How are you?" He says, "I've been watching you." And I said, "Have you?" He said, "Yeah, I've been watching how you walk and what you wear and how you're standing now." He says, "I reckon I've already worked out what sort of car you're going to drive away with today." And then
that's confident.
Oh, yeah. And then he asked me, "What do you think about that?" Well, I thought of a few things, and none of it really good, because he'd lived up to every negative stereotype that I thought he was going to. So I physically took the exit ramp because I said to him, "That's ridiculous, mate, I'm leaving." And that's exactly what I did. Now, maybe I'm not the typical buyer that a lot of people would actually stay there, but they've really checked out because they don't want to be sold that way. In fact, that's my premise about selling, especially around this ethics of selling, is that if you want to sell more than your competitors, don't try and sell. Why? Because, and I'm sure this is true for you guys, and it's true for everybody, most people do not want to feel like they're being sold. So that first buyer's exit ramp happens at the initial contact. But the one where a lot of people feel the pressure is at that point, and I call it the decision point fear, is when I'm about to make the decision to buy something. And inside my mind I'm thinking, you know what, this sounds really good, I want to buy this, but then the little voice kicks in and says, "But if I say yes, what could go wrong?" And this is where the classic selling approaches that we heard about, you know, from the States, you know, 101 ways to close a sale, with all due respect to my American colleagues. You know, you don't need 101 ways to close a sale. If you've done your job properly, don't push or coerce someone into trying to make a buying decision. Because they just say, "Well, hang on, you're pushing a bit hard," so they take the second exit ramp. "Well, I won't buy." Why? "Because you're pushing me. And I want to think about it." And so I go
in their
away.
heads, are they looking for an excuse not to buy? Is that what this yes but is?
It's not that they're looking for an excuse so much. It's they're looking for validation.
Okay.
You know, is this going to be the right decision for me? So they're the first, you know, buyer's fears, if you like, the two exit ramps. But the third one's the most important, and why most small businesses, in my experience and opinion, they don't go broke through bad management. I don't know what the real stats are, but they reckon somewhere around 80% of small businesses go broke in their first year of business.
What do you think that's down to? Do you think that's down to the whole image or stereotype of a salesperson going out to do the dirty when you're selling a car or this or that? What do you think the 80% of businesses just starting off goes broke to?
Part of it is they're not managing those first two exit ramps, but the big reason is because they don't manage the third one. And because a lot of people can sell something once, you just have to be the cheapest and you could sell it. But that's not what we want to do.
Whether you get the customers coming back.
You got it. And we get the business we deserve. We get the referrals that we deserve. And so, therefore, the question for small businesses, big businesses, individual salespeople right across the world is how do I engage with my clients so that they're not just clients but that they're advocates. So the third buyer's exit ramp actually happens after we, as consumers, have bought. And we get home and we say, was it a good decision? And yet we're not validated. The whole concept of when we buy something, we don't get thanked as consumers. You think about when you've bought something really important, and it could have been a car, it could have been a house, maybe it was a home theatre system or whatever it is. We don't get thanked. People don't ring us to say, was it working? Is it working? They don't say, have we lived up to the expectations? So my recommendation to salespeople, business people, is that after the sale, look for ways to thank your clients, look for ways to validate their buying decision, look for ways to reinforce that they've made a good buying decision, but most importantly, reward them in some way where the client goes, I didn't expect that. And it could be something as simple as a phone call, it could be a little message, there's a whole range of different, but it's got to be something that doesn't seem
over the top,
quirky, and where people go, oh yuck, and they want to go and have a shower. It's because what I'm not recommending is that they should stalk their customers. That's not that's not what I'm recommending.
But David, probably make that extra step to make them feel like they're not just another customer, not just another number. So there's little extra steps like that would pull the line.
Exactly. See, consumers today, one of the biggest shifts in the psychology of consumerism is that consumers today don't just want to buy a product. Because they don't buy the product, they buy what the product's going to do for them. But what they're looking for are experiences of purchase. So it's not just about buying the fruit. It's, am I enjoying going into the fruit market? Does somebody recognise me? Do they say hello? Is it an engaging process? Or is it just get the fruit and get out? And that's whether we're selling fruit, whether we're selling cars, whether we're selling insurance, whether we're selling whatever it is. We want to create environments where people have an experience where they go, you know what, I want to tell someone else about this. I want to let my friends, my family, my colleagues. That's one of the best ways for salespeople to work out what they need to be doing to build their businesses. Listen to what happens at barbecues.
So, Dave, does that mean that, right back to one of the first things you observed about the salesperson's mindset, does that mean one of our mindsets right back at the start is to consider what sort of experience would I like to create or like to have if I was in the other shoes? Is that the mindset that we start with to then inform ourselves about how to combat some of these exit ramps?
The interesting thing here is there's a double-edged sword with this. That if we start with, you know what, I want to make sure that I don't want to sell any way other than the way that I like to buy. That's a really good empathetic way to look at it. But here's the problem. What if the way that you like to buy isn't the way the other customer wants to buy? Okay. See, there's 4 different buying styles of customers. There's social style customers, there's active style customers, there's steady style, and there's reserve style. Some of them want to be friendly. Some of them just want to get the business done. Some of them want detail. Some of them don't want any detail, just give me the high picture. It's how do we create an experience, not just for the way that I want to buy, but I've got to work out how do I allow the client to buy the way that they want to buy.
That's probably something that the seller would pick up within the first 2 or 3 seconds, just purely from body language.
Yeah, but here's the problem with the body language movement. That the more that we try and read into body language, as a salesperson, as a business person, as communicators, we start to play this pop psychology game, and if you lean forward, I should lean forward. If you lean back, I should lean back. Most clients today, they say, oh, you've been to one of those body language courses. You don't, and again, with all due respect to the body language movement, if I'm sitting here with my arms folded, it doesn't mean that I'm closed to what you're saying. It could be that I'm cold, and if I swap legs or whatever like this, it doesn't mean that I'm really interested. It could be that I just need to change my cheek because it's getting numb. There's a whole range of reasons. So my recommendation to everybody is be very careful about reading too much into body language, but be very aware of your own. That's what we don't want to be. We don't want it, because it's a reality. People will read into body language. So coming back, do salespeople just pick up on this stuff really quickly? I don't think that's a natural thing for us to do, and I think the danger is if we push it too hard, that we start to try and work out, I reckon I know how you want to buy today. That's not what we ought to be doing. We ought to be asking great questions. We ought to be just, observing and listening between the lines to what people say, because they're the important things. It's quite often the insignificant that they say that connects.
So much to selling that I didn't know about. Thanks so much for coming on the show today, David.
To me, the great point is that I don't have to feel icky about this. Absolutely, if I just put it in the mind of the consumer. So, Dave, thanks for raising our awareness of it. And selling doesn't have to be an icky thing for you if you don't consider yourself a salesman. So, thank you very much, Dave.
My pleasure.
We look forward to maybe hearing more about it next time you're in Perth.
Love to.